What's going on, guys? This is the Edge DFS. We are live for NFL Sunday Night Showdown. Washington football team versus the Eagles. Pretty big game tonight. Ellie, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. This Cardinals game is just a bunch of fucking dog shit, so that's interesting. Cardinals are once again making a random ass quarterback look like fucking Peyton Manning.
Of course.
So, you know.
What's this guy? What's this dude's name? Fucking.
I have no idea, bro. Like Earl Walford. Like wasn't he a tackle at one point? Like
potentially. All right, so thanks for joining us, guys. We'll wait a couple seconds here for everyone to filter in. We are live, obviously, so any news that comes out about this game, we can talk about. Hit us up in the chat. We're going to follow our typical show structure here for NFL Showdown, and we'll get to probably about 3:30-ish Pacific, and then we can react to any news and talk about that. But for now, let's just get right into this, man.
Let's do it.
So with the Giants winning, this becomes interesting. Obviously, if Washington wins this game they're in, if they lose, now we have, the Giants can win the division and make the playoffs and have a home playoff game, which is absolutely insane. If the Cowboys were to win that game, that would be even more crazy because, look, I think we all can agree that the Giants are a better team than the Cowboys currently. I would rather see Daniel Jones in the playoffs than fucking whatever the hell that guy's name is, Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. I can't stand Andy Dalton, dude. I don't know why. I think it's unfair, but I mean, I just don't like him.
So how are your lineups doing today?
Main slate's fine. I need some help from obviously Chalky, Ty Montgomery, and Derrick Henry. But other than that, dude, I had a shitload of Marvin Jones Jr. and he had 41 fantasy points, and so that helped a lot. But
you also have a ton of Evan Ingram, I'm sure, which will even things out. Let's see, the equalizer there.
Bro, he only performs when I'm not playing him. So I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna start live blogging, and the only thing I'm gonna report on is whether or not I have Ingram in my lineup, so that everybody knows who to play.
All right, let's jump right into this matchup here. So Washington on the road in Philly. Looks like there should be some rain. Ellie, can you look up weather on this game on your side on RG and see what they say? There's a weather tab. I don't know if you've looked at that before.
Yeah, for sure.
Last time I checked, it was around kickoff 60% or 70% rain chance of rain. So look, with the NFL, it's not a huge deal, but it can adjust. We can adjust slightly if there's going to be a lot of rain here, and it seems to taper off after kickoff. But looks like we have Washington as minus 268 favorites, 72% win probability. The 43 over under, minus 6.5 going to Washington. I feel like this Philadelphia team is not good. Let's not pretend here. They have some injuries going on, which is probably why this is such a wide spread here. But minus 268 for Washington with an unhealthy team as well. They have some injuries on their side, and we'll get to that in a second. I feel like this could go either way. With Jalen Hurts, I feel like Philadelphia has a chance to play spoiler here. Is there any reason why Philadelphia would not play Jalen Hurts at a certain point if this game is competitive, in your opinion?
I don't know, man. I saw something on Twitter where a couple DFS touts were talking about the possibility that Jalen Hurts could be benched if they don't keep this. Or I don't even remember the reason. I was just waking up, but it was something to keep an eye on when it comes to the showdown matchup here. I don't see why they'd do that. It doesn't make sense to me.
There's no way.
Yeah, and what are they going to do? Like, bench him for Carson Wentz? Like, no, I think Wentz would
be that we heard today.
Yeah, dude. Like, exactly. I think Wentz would be like legitimately fucking pissed if they did that. Like, hey, bro, we're gonna let you wrap this season up. Here you go. Right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that happening. Yeah. So it is something to keep an eye out. If anybody else knows anything that we don't, just keep get in the Discord, comment, say something so that we're not missing it. But I'll keep looking and see if I can find other news on it.
This is our first NFL Showdown live show here, so things look a little bit different for us, but everything's overall the same. We're going to have the same structure. So the good news is we can actually communicate with you guys in real time, so hit us up in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. But for now, the over-under 43 seems like a relatively low-scoring game, especially this year in the NFL. Washington, 72% win probability. I'm not buying it, man. I think Philly can play spoiler here. I think Jalen Hurts can end the season on a high note for this team, being the future quarterback. Any narrative to that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's viable. Jalen Hurts is a talented guy, and he's a winner. That's really all he's known in college, right? Coming from Alabama, going to Oklahoma. So I think keeping him in, you get a little bit of a competitive edge. The thing that I think we need to be mindful of, though, is Washington's defensive line is really, really good. Yeah. And the Eagles' offensive line hasn't been very consistent this year. There are potential injuries there. So I definitely think that's something to keep in mind. I do think that there is a path to Washington dominating this game in the trenches and making life very difficult on Philly. And that's where I think this total is actually pretty spot on.
So when it comes to roster construction here, how do you think ownership is going to go? we have ownership. Actually, hang on. Let me look at the cumulative ownership between these teams real quick. But in your opinion, before I type it out, what do you think? Are we going heavy Washington here for ownership?
I mean, look, I think you need to go 4-2 Washington. I think that puts you in the best opportunity to be successful here. Let's see. Looking at this,
Washington's 40 points cumulative more ownership, which is typically when we see that it's heavy. That's pretty heavily towards Washington. It's usually a little bit closer than that.
Yeah, but honestly, I think
really interesting. That makes me really interested in Philly. It just does. We have all the value you could possibly want on the Philly side of the ball. There's going to be a lot of options when we get into our breakdown. We'll talk about that. But 3-3s could be the way to go here, unless you think Washington's absolutely going to blow this team out. I just don't see it happening. If anything, this is a 24-17 game, just like Vegas thinks it might be. At most, maybe we get a 30 to 20 something game, but I think if there's that amount of scoring going on, you got to consider doing 3-3s here. And we'll get into captains as well, but let's move over to injuries real quick. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. It seems like today we got a report today. I got a notification from Roto Grinders this morning saying that Alex Smith, Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson are all going to play. Did you get the same thing?
Yeah, I got the same thing. I'm hoping that's accurate. I love Alex Smith. I love McLaurin. I love Antonio Gibson in this. And just given where J.D. McKissick's ownership's coming in right now, I really hope Gibson plays because I think he's a good way to kind of get off some of the chalk here, and he might be the way to beat those 3-3 or these 4-2 lineups or the heavy Washington chalk, right? So I hope all three guys are in. I think it'll muddy the waters just enough for us to really be able to get different and stay different.
When it comes to the Eagles, we've got Miles Sanders is out, Dallas Goedert out, Deshaun Jackson out. So there's not really a lot of news to be waiting for. Obviously, we want to keep an eye on the official inactives for Washington. Anything can happen, especially this year in the NFL. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So let's talk about. Let's actually hear from Coach Rivera here. Let me cue this up. This was, I think, 2 days ago during his press conference. This is our horse's mouth segment. Let's hear directly from these guys.
I just want to know from the horse's mouth, what is the dealio?
All right, so this is the injury report here.
DMPs, Thomas Davis, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, 2 limited, Kevin Pierre-Louis and Alex Smith. And 3 full, Wes Schweitzer, John Allen, and Tim Settle. Game status for Sunday, Thomas Davis will be declared out. Gibson, McLaurin, Pierre-Louis, and Smith will all be listed as questionable. Schweitzer, Allen, and Settle are off the report.
Okay, let's go to Ron Rivera here.
Sorry about that. Could you give us the updates on Antonio and Terry and kind of what you saw from them today?
Well, we had them working with the trainers and, just really being smart because we were on the turf today. Wish we could have had them out on the field yesterday, but it was pretty encouraging.
So not a lot from him there. It's interesting. I think we're going to have to wait for inactives, but whatever that report that came out this morning, that's a good sign. We're going to assume that they're all in, especially considering this is the most important game of the year. This gets them in the playoffs. There's no reason if these guys absolutely can't play that they wouldn't play.
Right.
Anything jump out to you there?
No, man. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think if they can play, they're playing today. This is your opportunity to make the playoffs, so they're going to be in.
I think Alex Smith is going to play. I mean, come on. Unless the guy is fucking dead, he's not. Like, this could be his last year. This could be his last game. Don't you think?
I don't know, man. I think he'll stay on the team as a backup for at least another season.
As a starter, this is his last opportunity to make a run in the playoffs. He's going to play.
Yeah, 100%.
Scary Terry, we're going to assume he's in, and Antonio Gibson, we're going to assume he's in. So we'll obviously keep an eye out for news as we go through the show. But right now, let's get into the breakdown, dude. Break it down. All right, so typically we jump right into salary and we'll open up Fantasy Cruncher. But right now, we did something with NBA that I kind of liked, calling it Captain Crunch. Basically, I'm crunching out 250 lineups with all of these guys at captain and the top lineups. So like the highest projected, the sum of the highest projected for each one of these guys and, top ownership. Ellie, explain, a little bit more elegantly than I can when it comes to Excel and what I've got going on here.
Bro, I think your name says it, perfectly. Literally, we're just crunching on 250 lineups with these guys at captain and just trying to get a rough idea of what the range of outcomes is for building with these lineups, right? I assume we're running pretty close to optimal variance.
No randomness.
Yeah.
These are all the projections built in. I'm not making any groups. I'm not doing shit. This is all from straight out of the box.
Which is exactly what we want to see, right? Because it kind of gives us an idea of what we can do to get different, and really what the ceiling and the variance is from our potential lineups, right? Like Terry McLaurin, normally I'd be all for getting a stud wide receiver in. Where are you guys on Boston Scott? I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but $1,400 and projected 30% ownership. Just seems kind of fucking dumb not to play him.
I'll consider him at captain too, and we'll get into that. We're gonna go position by position here, so we'll get to him, but he's a lock.
I don't know how he's not. Yeah. So again, I think it gives you a little bit of insight into what we're looking at. Some of the optimal lineups or obviously Jalen Hurts, Alex Smith, and Antonio Gibson. But we kind of have an idea of what we're going to need to put out here. Obviously, 101 fantasy points isn't going to win a showdown. You probably need closer.
These are median projections.
Exactly. So we're adjusting our anticipated lineup based on what we think will happen should these guys start scoring and putting up a lot of points. But anyways, it just gives us a good idea of how to benchmark our captain plays.
Yeah, exactly. So what jumps out here? I mean, Terry McLaurin is not projecting out well, and his ownership is right around one of the lowest. But what are your thoughts? Just tell me what jumps out here to you.
I like Antonio Gibson. I think he's going to be heavily involved. J.D. McKissic is interesting because he's actually coming in close to 8% owned at the captain spot, right? I'm not a huge fan of getting a bunch of J.D. McKissic in at the captain spot if Antonio Gibson plays, right? I think this is where you have a unique opportunity to get very different on this kind of slate because I think who is Watkins?
That's what I thought. It's Quez Watkins, who's currently projected for, I don't fucking know. Where's he at? Quez Watkins, 1,600 projected for 2 fantasy points. I'm probably not going to get there. But
yeah,
anyway.
I don't even know if I'll have to check RotoGrinder, see if he's in the player pool here.
Yeah. I mean, look, Boston Scott to me is just there's no reason to overthink it. At that salary, I think as long as the ownership sticks around the same, I mean, I think he should be 60% owned. And if he's under 50%, I'm just locking him in. That's just my opinion on it. There's no reason to overthink things. You're going to need a guy at that salary. If you want to pivot to some, the usage is going to be there. Using some NBA terms here, the opportunity is going to be there. All right. So anything else to talk about here? I'm going to switch over to Fantasy Cruncher. What just based on what you saw here, we can take it with a grain of salt. But if you would look at Alex Smith as the top projected lineup, and Jalen Hurts has the lowest total ownership with his best lineup there. So that's interesting to me because Jalen Hurts looks like he's going to be the highest owned guy. So maybe they're jamming in. It's like a stars and scrubs sort of build. What jumps out to you here while we switch over to Fantasy Cruncher?
Yeah, I mean, well, honestly, I'm still trying to find this Watkins guy in lineup HQ. So you guys will kind of see what I'm dealing with over here. So, look, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be interesting. I think Alex Smith is probably the safest captain play. Jalen Hurts is going to be interesting because he does have the rushing upside. Yeah, with Alex Smith being limited, they could lean on McKissic and Gibson more. The thing is McKissic, I don't know if he's really in a great spot, right? He's priced up like he's going to be the starting guy, and he's splitting touches with Gibson. If Gibson or McLaurin is out, I think McKissic gets a massive boost simply because he's going to take over a shitload of volume in targets. Yeah. So it's something to keep in mind. But again, he actually could be an interesting captain play just because of that. But look, man, I think it gives us. I think your Captain Crunch gave us a little bit of insight into what we need to do there, and kind of we're looking at a projection floor of around 100 to 110 that we need to be optimal, and then we need to think that it can get to 150, 160. So I think it gives us a range of what we're looking for when we start hand building.
Yeah, our ceilings at 160ish. There was 3 of those captains had that top ceiling. So maybe that's our goal here. Not that it really matters, but that's just going to give us an idea as to where we kind of need to end up. All right, so let's jump over to our breakdown here. So we got Jalen Hurts at 11.4K. Alex Smith at 9,800. So Alex Smith's priced down quite a bit. But if we look at his outcomes this year, even when they've been successful, he just hasn't gotten there. To me, I think they can win and they can be successful without Alex Smith doing a whole lot. Sort of a game manager / don't turn the ball over, don't get too many sacks. When you see this, man, I know that it's a little deceiving because there's a lot of red here based on his salary. But if he scores you 15 fantasy points, I don't think he's making the optimal in this game.
I don't know, man. It's hard not getting the quarterbacks in there. If he scores 15 points, I don't know who else is going to get fantasy production from these teams, right?
But look at his completions here. So in games, I mean, he's throwing the ball, 30 to 50 times, depending on these games. There's upwards in some of these games. The dude had 38 completions, and he only scored 19 fantasy points. So those 38 completions, that's 38 PPR points to somebody, and you spread that out over the court, maybe over 4 or 5 guys. That's how you get there without him. A ton of completions, maybe 1 or 2 touchdown passes. I just don't see him. Me personally, I don't think if you're playing large field tournaments, I think you fade Alex Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he's over 50% owned, so you're getting a shitload of leverage if you fade him. I definitely think it's viable, man.
I just don't think you need him, and I'm not gonna in my single entry. I'll probably have both quarterbacks. There's no reason to go too crazy, but I'm not scared to fade him. We've done this in the past. We faded Cam Newton, we faded Tom Brady, we faded anybody that's anybody on Showdown when it comes to quarterbacks. I'm not scared to fade him. I'd rather just pay up for Jalen Hurts, because we know that Jalen Hurts, I mean, look at this. He's got the ceiling. And if we're playing large field tournaments, I want to unlock that ceiling. I know it's a tougher matchup than he went against New Orleans, 23 fantasy points. Against Arizona, well, that's obvious. I'm surprised he didn't have 100 fantasy points. His last 2 weeks, he's thrown for over 300 yards. I love Jalen Hurts in this particular matchup. I know he's high owned, but I don't care. I'm just not going to put him at captain. We don't need to put him at captain, and I'm definitely not putting Alex Smith at captain, because I think on the Washington side of things, whether it be receiver or running back, you can easily afford to go heavy on McKissick, Gibson, McLaurin, or one of these random wide receivers. So what are your now that we've talked about this a little bit? I know you're higher on Alex Smith than I am. Trust me, I'm rooting for Alex Smith. I want the Washington football team to win this game, make the playoffs. I want Alex Smith to throw for 4 touchdowns. I just don't see it happening. So can you fade one of these quarterbacks? And if so, who are you going to fade?
Honestly, I think you're okay fading both of them. Technically, I mean, there's a world where Jalen Hurts isn't able to deal. The Eagles' offensive line isn't able to handle this Washington defensive line, right? So I definitely think it's possible to fade both of them. I don't know if I'm going to be ballsy enough to do it, because there's also a good chance Jalen Hurts could be the highest scorer on Philly. So
I'm fading Jalen Hurts. He's going to be in every one of my lineups.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to get risky. If you have to fade one, though, I think Alex Smith is easier to fade because he doesn't have the rushing upside. And in fact, you're right. He hasn't had much upside all season. I think the thing that I'm worried about there is if he gets to 15, 16 fantasy points, I think he'll be needed for the optimal. But if he stays around the 9 to 12 mark, I think you can be okay fading him. So it definitely comes with the game script. If you think this is going to be a defensive game and maybe hit the under on the total, then I think Alex Smith is a viable fade.
Look, even if we hit the over here, I'm still comfortable fading Alex Smith. That's just me. He's 50% total owned, and he's, what is he like? Around between 10 to 15% in the captain. Sign me up for fading him, especially in the captain. Maybe I'll get 15 to 20% of him. That's just me. All right, so let's move back. Let's move over to running backs for the Eagles. We've got Boston Scott Paper Company at 1,400, just insane. Jordan Howard at 1,000. Corey Clement is also an option. We've seen him score at $200. And Jason Huntley. So Antoine mentioned Jason Huntley. I know nothing about this guy. So Antoine, hit us up in the chat and let us know why he's an option. I personally probably not going to get to him at all. I'm not doing a mini max, or I'm not doing 150 lineups, so he's not going to make it into my player pool. But it's worth mentioning. I'd rather go with Corey Clement any day. So who's your favorite play here? I don't think there's not a hot take that Boston Scott at 1,400 is a lock, especially if he's coming in at under 50% ownership at that price. I don't know. That's just me. And he can catch the ball out of the backfield. We all know that.
So real quick, just looking at Jason Huntley, he hasn't had a snap since, let's see, week 8. So unless there's something that I'm missing, let us know, man. I mean, if you think that he's going to get some run, then hell yeah, let's look at him. But for me, it's Boston Scott.
Zach, we have our captain segment coming up here real quick, and we'll let you know. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, look, I just think Boston Scott is just going to get too much opportunity. Look, he shouldn't be priced at $1,400 with Miles Sanders out. I think this is just a late Draftkings was late to the game, or it was done after they already released pricing here. So if this was priced normally, he should be closer to at least 5,500. Yeah, he probably more realistically 6,000 to 7,000. So I don't know how I'm not going to have him in a bunch of my lineups, and it's not like he has to do much to pay off that price tag. So
exactly. It's all about price. And yeah, Antoine, I feel you, bro. Maybe he'll take us a couple snaps away. I'm not too worried about him personally. Boston Scott at 1,400. Look, let's take a look at some of the snap counts here. So for last week. Miles Sanders obviously has been getting all the snaps here. But even with Miles Sanders in, can we pull up some what weeks for Sanders out? Was it 7, 8, and 9? Let's look at this actually, because I want to see how Boston Scott did with Sanders out.
7, 8, and 9.
So week 7, 8, and 9, he was out. So let's take a look at Boston Scott and see how he did. So week 7.
Oh, 7 and 8, because there was bye week 9. So week 7, Boston Scott had.
That was that Giants game, I think, where he caught that touchdown at the end, where he was kind of sucking, and he caught that touchdown. Well, look, if you get an 18-point output from him, you're gonna be doing pretty well. Now, if he comes in around 10 and 14, you still might be able to profit.
56 snaps. I mean, he was on the field for 51 snaps. Or 56 snaps in week 7 and then 41 in week 8. I mean, at $1,400, that's just too much opportunity for me.
Yeah. And look, I'm not worried about Scott's ownership unless it's 60%. I don't care. Because I can be different, slightly different in the captain. I'm not going to play chalk in the captain for this game because I think there's so many other options. You have Gibson, you have McKissick. I mean, look, you can even play Boston Scott in the captain, and we should build a lineup with Boston Scott in the captain just to see if it's even necessary, because that's a lot of salary. I mean, you can get everybody, but I don't think you're going to need to do that in this particular game. What do you think?
Did you see the safety?
Did the Cardinals just get a fucking safety?
Holding in the end zone.
This fucking team. This is I want them to lose.
Bro,
so Zach, we're actually moving over to the other side of the ball right now. Let's talk about that, Ellie. So let's talk about Washington's running backs. Antonio Gibson, questionable, but he's probably going to play. He's 9,000. J.D. McKissick at 8,800, $200 less, and then you got Peyton Barber at 1,200. I don't think you can have any Peyton Barber if Antonio Gibson plays. You have the opportunity for Peyton Barber to vulture a touchdown at the goal line every once in a while, but I'm not interested in him. I personally. Antonio Gibson, I think, is going to come in a little bit lower owned than he should be. I mean, we all saw this guy go off on Thanksgiving. He is a great fucking player, and he has a high ceiling. He's one of these guys that if you don't have him and he goes off, you might not even cash. I love getting both of these guys in most of my lineups. I'm gonna handcuff a lot this week. McKissick in the captain, Antonio Gibson in the flex, vice versa. I'm all about doing that. I think with Showdown, you can be automatically unique by doing both of these guys in the running back, or both running backs in the same lineup. What about you, Ellie? Do you have a lean one way or another? I mean, look, McKissick has him and Kamara are the only players with over 100 targets this year. He's got 100 targets this year. And if we look at McKissick's, I'll get to you in a second, Ellie. I just got to show this off here. McKissick, 23 fantasy points, 25 fantasy points. There's a lot of green here. And at that ownership, I'm fully comfortable. I don't think that they hurt each other. If you have both of them in the same lineup, I think they play off each other well. You're getting all of those back backfield targets. You're getting all those goal line rushing opportunities. I think having both of them together, but who do you have a lean towards if you had to choose one or the other?
Yeah, I mean, my lean's always going to be Antonio Gibson. I just like the way he's played this all season long. Now, the one thing I think you can do here is consider J.D. McKissic a little bit differently than just RB2, right? He is, I mean, he's damn near a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Right. So he's gonna easily end up with 8 to 9 targets. The only thing that I think impacts him a little bit is with everybody being healthy, it might limit some of his targets a bit. And as to one of the points that was made earlier in this chat is, I think they're going to focus more on trying to establish the run a little bit and let their defense dominate in this game because that's what's worked for them all year, right? So I don't know if they're going to rush as much or throw the ball quite as often as we've seen them in the past. But I definitely think McKissic and Gibson lineups are both viable. I just don't know if I would want either in the captain in that situation.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I hear that. That's a good point. So if we look at McKissic, he ran 34 routes last week, 35 routes the week before. He's getting a ton of routes run. Overall this season, he actually has 61% of the snaps, and Antonio Gibson has 44%. So McKissic is on the field at the same time as Antonio Gibson. So you got to think of McKissic as more of a wide receiver 3, maybe behind Cam Sims. They're getting, Cam. We'll get to wide receivers here in a minute, but like last week, Cam Sims had 49 routes run, and McKissic had 34. So there's a clear advantage there to the wide receivers, but you just got to keep an eye on the fact that, just because McKissic is listed as a running back doesn't necessarily mean he's got to be on the field, off the field when Antonio Gibson is on the field. So I love Antonio Gibson, don't get me wrong, but I think we just have to get away from the whole running back position here when it comes to this game. So anything to talk about when it comes to Peyton Barber here? Is this even worth mentioning? Obviously, if Antonio Gibson is out, Peyton Barber is going to get those snaps. So we got to consider him at 1,200, and that's a great pivot off of – that's where I would be comfortable pivoting off of Boston Scott, is a late news adjustment to Peyton Barber, who even if Gibson is out, you're talking about this dude's going to be 10% owned probably at most, right? So any interest in Barber if Gibson plays?
I mean, he's a real deep flyer. I doubt you're going to need to go down that cheap to get what you want to build appropriately today. So probably not. But if you're running 20 max or 150 max, I don't think it's an awful idea to take a stab at him once or twice.
He's got 3 touchdowns? He has 2 touchdowns in week 1. Sorry, this fucking thing is scrolling around like crazy. He's got 2 touchdowns in week 1, and he's got 2. So he's got 4 touchdowns this year. So look, it's worth considering playing a guy at 1,200 who's got multiple touchdowns. All right, anything else to talk about here?
Yeah, just one more thing. It looks like a decent amount of his attempts are coming in the red zone. I mean,
who?
Peyton Barber.
Yeah, he's the red zone guy.
Yeah, so I mean, look, he does have the opportunity to vulture. That's something to keep an eye out.
Well, and earlier in the year, one of those Washington shows we did, Coach Rivera talked about specifically him by name about goal line opportunities, and didn't mention anybody else. He just mentioned how Peyton Barber was great in the red zone. So just keep an eye on that. That's one of these things I absolutely think he can vulture a touchdown in this game. I just don't think I want to have more than 1 or 2 lineups with him unless Gibson's out. All right. So anything else to talk about here on the running back side of things?
No, bro.
All right. So let's move over to wide receivers for Washington. You got scary Terry McLaurin, questionable at 10K. Excuse me. Cam Sims, 4,800. Steven Sims Jr., 2,400. Antonio, some Gandy Golden. I don't know I literally don't know who that is. I've never heard that name until right now. He's at 200. Isaiah Wright's at 200. Who's your favorite play here? Obviously, Scary Terry is, to me, a top 10, maybe top 5 if he's healthy with a good quarterback, wide receiver in the NFL. So, how much does that Q tag scare you Or do you actually love it because he's going to be lower owned probably?
Yeah, I don't give a shit, bro. He's like Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, right? They're always going to have a Q tag next to some of these guys. You know, Terry McLaurin is very much a focal piece of this offense, right? He's something you can build around for years to come. So I think they're going to be a little bit hesitant with him. But again, this game is for the division. I don't think anybody gives a shit, right? Like, I think everybody's going to play.
Gandy Golden out. Okay, thanks, dude. Yeah.
Why do you know that, man? I appreciate you so much.
That. Yeah,
But,
thank you.
are you a football team fan? Sorry. Somebody needs to give this motherfuckers a name.
Oh, out of total. Oh, well, I guess he's not out. But I'm gonna pretend he is out because I'm not playing him. I don't know who he is. Sorry, dude. Go ahead. What were you saying?
So yeah, no, look, man, I love Terry McLaurin. He's obviously my favorite play here. I think that both Sims are definitely in play. They have some upside, but with everybody healthy, if everybody is healthy, I think your 4 core players from Washington's football team are just as simple as Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Terry McLaurin, and Logan Thomas. I really don't give a shit about anybody else.
Yeah.
If I need to jam somebody in, then I will just to save some money. But again, I think we're going to be fine with Boston Scott.
So one thing I wanted to point out here is even with some bad games from him, you're still getting 13, 16, 14s, 18s. And then you get the 27, the 28. It looks like this season he's only getting like about a 30-point ceiling. And that could just be a product of who's throwing him the ball. This isn't a high-powered offense. But if you look at some of his floor, he had a 3-point game here. Nothing, obviously that's not going to get you into the optimal lineup. He had a 5-point game earlier in the year. But if Scary Terry comes out and scores you 16 fantasy points, I don't think there's any reason to think that he wouldn't be in the optimal. I know I said with Alex Smith, potentially. What are you laughing at, dude?
No, my fiance and son just got home.
Oh, okay. I thought I missed something on the Cardinals game.
No.
Give up an interception or something. Basically, my point here is 16 fantasy points with McLaurin at wide receiver. I think that can get you in, especially at that ownership. So even if he has a bad game, he still can make it in. Anything else to talk about here?
No, nothing on the wide receivers, man.
All right, Ellie, do your thing. Let's talk. Let's see. I'm gonna remove you there. There we go. You ready? You coming back?
Yeah, I just need to shut the door.
No, all good. All right, so Cam Sims versus Steven Sims here. What are your, where are you going there? I mean, it's obvious that Cam Sims is getting all those snaps. On the season, Cam Sims has 70%, but he's been of the snaps this year on average, but he's trending up a lot lately. Week 14, 93%, week 15, 100%, and last week with Scary Terry out, he had 98% of the snaps. And if you look at Steven Sims at, 65% of the snaps with Scary Terry out, but he's only getting, he's getting less than 50% of the snaps on the season. He's not running nearly as many routes. He's not even running as many routes as J.D. McKissick. So we have to lean towards Cam Sims here, right?
Yeah, man, absolutely. First of all, I'm not gonna lie, I have to pay a little bit additional attention when I'm dealing with these fucking Sims because I never know who's who. And honestly, it was like week 3 before I realized they had 2 Sims on their team.
I know,
but
right?
Yeah, man, Cam Sims is definitely the guy I think that you're looking at here. But again, I'm not sure that this is something that I need to do. Because I'm not really interested in playing any of these deeper guys on the bench, right? I think Washington's going to win this game, and I think they're going to do it through their core. Now, if you think that Terry McLaurin's out, then I think this particular Sims gets the biggest boost, right? We see his target count over the past couple of weeks, 9, 8, 2, 9, right? They want to get him involved, but it's so hard to predict because that could be chemistry related. We had Dwayne Haskins
Yeah.
pitch like the first 3 innings, and then fucking Alex Smith came in for half the game, right? You know what I mean? So it's really hard to kind of determine where the volume is going to go based on who's playing quarterback.
Steven Sims Jr. is getting considerably less targets, obviously.
Right.
At 2,400, he's only scored 1 touchdown this year. I don't think he's gonna make a lot of my lineups. I mean, the projections, resemble that. He's being way out projected for sure. So, anyways, let's move over to the other side of the ball.
Is that a Cardinals comment, bro? I am way too much of a pessimistic Cardinals fan to be fully engaged in this game.
I don't give a shit. I hope they lose. That's some jaded shit. I've been a Cardinals fan since 1988, since I was born. Not by choice, but just where I was born. I don't give a shit. I hope they lose. Anyways, this is a nice distraction for us, actually.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Philly side of things here. This is where things get interesting. And to me, this is where you can unlock the key to this slate. It's just not pretty, and it's not something I want to do. But you got Greg Ward at 5,800, Jalen Reagor at 6,200, Alshon Jeffrey 4,400, Travis Fulgham 5,000, and our boy Quez Watkins at 1,600. What the fuck do we do here? Jalen Reagor, is that the guy? I mean, I don't know, and I can't see myself getting more than one of these guys in any of my lineups. If you wanted to be different, if you want to be ballsy, you put 2 or 3 of these guys in your lineups, and you hope that this is a shootout. I'm not comfortable making a stand on any one of these guys. I won't be over the field on any one of these guys. What about you?
Yeah, man, I think this is where you put in a rule. You only play one, right? And you try and pair him up with Jalen Hurts in hopes you get the right guy. I don't really have much interest in any of these guys. I think they're kind of priced too awkwardly to get them to really get the value out of them that you need. I really don't think they're going to be able to beat the Washington defense either. So I think all of that's going to kind of play into what's happening here. I just really don't have much interest in them. If I have to choose, I think I'm most comfortable with Travis Fulgham, unfortunately, just because he has the most consistent hands on the team. But since Jalen Hurts,
the highest upside. We've seen Fulgham go off. He hasn't done shit since.
Let's see.
So at 5,000, I mean, look at this. This is disgusting, dude. He had a 19 fantasy point game in week 8, and he's disappeared ever since. Don't know whose fault that is. Don't know if that's his fault. We're dealing with some bad quarterback play. Over the past few weeks, he did miss week 14. Over the past few weeks, you're seeing the team have a little bit more success with Jalen Hurts, but he's not jiving with Hurts, obviously. He's only been getting 3 targets, 2 targets. Hasn't really been working out with him. I think he's had a better. He was doing better with Wentz. So I'm more likely to fade Fulgham, especially at that price tag of 5,000, than anything. And if we look at their snap rates this year, let's say so. Last week, Deshaun Jackson played, but he only got 16% of the snaps. So I'm still going to take this into consideration last week, even though Deshaun Jackson's out. But Jalen Reagor had 67% of the snaps. Greg Ward had 95%. You've got Jeffrey and Fulgham hovering right around 35%, and Quez Watkins with 20. So there's the guy who's getting clearly the most snaps recently is Greg Ward. So to me, number one guy for me on this, and look, the projections also resemble that. Greg Ward is the guy, and at 5,800, I'm okay with going over the field with Greg Ward, and then sprinkling in a lot of these other guys.
So here's one thing I can call out: Greg Ward, since week 13, he's gone from 20% of target share to 19, 12.5 to 8.8 last week. It looks like Jalen Reagor is the only wide receiver who's on a positive trend for 15.5, 20, 20.6.
Yeah.
So I think it looks like Hurts is very comfortable with these two. I think Ward and Reagor are fine. And you're dead on about Jalen Rieger, or I'm sorry, Travis Fulgham. It doesn't look like he's had a significant target share since week 11 versus Cleveland. So
snap rate is way down. So
Yeah.
when it comes to NBA Showdown, what time is that? What time is that game tonight? Is that the 7:30 late night hammer?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Anyways, we might be able to do it. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I think we're going to be focused on Sunday Night Football. But tune in. We might change our minds. Ertz more than Ward or Fulgham. Let's get to that right now. Actually, let's move over to tight ends. Are you done with wide receivers? Anything else to talk about?
No, I'm good on wide receivers, man.
All right. So look, Zach Ertz, Richard is Richard Rodgers out? Yeah, he is out. Wow, interesting. Perkins, Jesus, I'm not going to consider anybody else but Ertz. Actually, Caleb Wilson. Do you know anything about this guy? I don't know anything about Caleb Wilson, but if he's playing, it'd be worth considering in this game, considering the fact that Philadelphia loves their 2 tight end sets. Who do you have in lineup HQ?
Caleb Wilson and
Wilson's backup, right?
Yeah,
no one's getting projected for anything else.
Bro, his fucking picture, he looks like Aaron Hernandez's Tio.
Look, I don't know anything about Caleb Wilson. I'm not going to play him. But the reason I bring him up is because this team loves their tight ends. Zach, you're totally right. Even with Goddard and Ertz, I loved playing both of them. In this particular week, I think this could be Zach Ertz's last game potentially, maybe with this team. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it for sure is.
I think Goddard is the guy of the future. His contract is way cheaper. So Ertz is gone. They're going to clean house. This could be his last opportunity to go off. I love Ertz. I have no problem getting fucking 80% Ertz. And I'm sure that's what it's going to be. I'm sure I'm going to have Hurts and Ertz as my core for Philly. And then maybe if I do 3 threes, I'll sprinkle in Boston Scott quite a bit. But that's another reason why I think I'm okay with 3 threes is because I'm comfortable with all 3 of those guys in my opinion. Favorite target is exactly. I think Ertz can be that guy this week, but I think Greg Ward has been the guy. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to figure this out. I'm okay with Ertz. I like Ertz the most in this game, besides Boston Scott, because of his salary. So talk to me about Zach Ertz. This is this is a top 3 tight end in the NFL when he was playing. So I think he can get there again.
Yeah, man. Look, last week he had 20% of the target share. He was tied with Jalen Rieger. The week before he had 17.5%, but that's because Dallas Goedert was healthy. And Goddard had 20%. So between the 2 tight ends, you had almost 40% of the target share. So I think Zertz, what the fuck? I think Zach Ertz is. Oh god damn it, dude!
Pick 6? Was it a pick 6?
It's pick fucking 6. I hate this team so
bad.
Anyways, I think Zach Ertz is definitely in play here. I think he's a great option. And again, we talked about it on shows prior, right? These younger quarterbacks, one of the easiest ways to get them consistent and get them in the game is to hit your tight end, right?
Yeah.
Repeatedly hit your tight end. And Zach Ertz, he's not washed. He's just injury prone. And if anybody's shown us, Nelson Aguilar's proven that it might just be Doug Peterson's fucking offense and Carson Wentz who suck. Yeah. So I definitely think Zach Ertz has some massive upside. And again, who would you throw to if you had fucking Quez Watkins? And sorry, I'm not trying to talk shit, but I just remembered his name. Quez Watkins, even Jalen Rieger. I'm not throwing to that guy if I have a healthy Zach Ertz who I know can do something with the football. He's a professional football player. So I think, I think Ertz is a part of my core. I like Ertz, and Boston Scott. That's really all I give a shit about on this team.
If I got those 3 guys in every one of my lineups, I'm okay with that because I'm not going to try to predict what's going to happen with the wide receivers on this team. I think I'll maybe try to sprinkle them in maybe the 30 or 40% of the lineups that I don't have all 3 of these guys. I'll sprinkle the wide receivers in, but just give me Ertz, and Boston Scott Paper Company, and we'll move on from there. Washington, Logan Thomas. Is there anything to talk about with this guy besides the fact that he was a former Arizona Cardinals quarterback draft pick?
So let me answer this question real quick. McLaurin fade. Yeah, I definitely think that's viable.
I'm okay with that. Totally.
Yeah, just keep in mind, I wouldn't blanket fade him if you're entering multiple lineups. If you're only entering one, then yeah, you're gonna have to take a stand somewhere. But if you're entering multiple, I would just come under the field slightly because again, McLaurin could tear shit up. Right.
But just think about McLaurin. His projected ownership, I don't think is a good resemblance of his upside in this game, and I think he can actually outperform that for sure. So for me, I'm likely to go out of my 40. I think I'm doing 42 lineups tonight. I'm more likely to go above the field on him and fade Alex Smith. That's just me. I'd rather fade Alex Smith and put McLaurin in any day.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. It's like it's a division rivalry game, and it's for a playoff spot. So we can throw a lot of shit out of the window. Former VA Tech Hokie. Yeah. I don't know anything about Virginia Tech other than both Vicks came from there. So, right? Marcus Vick?
I think so, yeah.
Was it Marcus? Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Logan Thomas, I don't think there's
$7,800. He's a great option, and his ownership is not, we're talking less than 30%.
He's going to get 78% target share. So, I definitely think that he's one of the better plays in the slate today.
I think Logan Thomas is a great contrarian captain. What do we got him? What do we got him potentially projected at for captain here? Under 10%? Yeah. I think he's great. I think he's a great contrarian captain option at that price tag for sure. I think he's the guy that can get you 2 touchdowns in this game for sure. If I had to bet on a guy to get you 2 touchdowns, it'd be Logan Thomas, and maybe he'll throw for a touchdown.
Even he doesn't even need to though. If he has 13 receptions for 100 yards, yeah, we know exactly.
Wait till you get to our captain slide here. We'll remind you of the quarterback.
Remember, he played for Arizona, and we thought he was.
We thought he was the fucking second coming of whoever the fuck else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
very quickly, that wasn't fucking true. So.
All right. So, what's going to be your exposure to Logan Thomas here in this game? You love him, right? Because I love him too.
Yeah, man, I don't think there's going to be any salary restrictions, so I think you can play him in every lineup. And honestly, I think it'd be foolish not to. Like, you're just taking a dart throw somewhere else.
Let's get into our favorite subject here, kickers and defense. All right, so with the lower total, everyone's going to be drawn to playing some more kickers and maybe some more defense. I personally, like I said, I'm just not in love with that. I know that Dustin Hopkins is at 3,600 and Jake Elliott's at 3,400. If they come in, they're coming in right around maybe 20% projected ownership. If they come in any higher than that when they update ownership, I'm more likely to fade them and be way under on kickers. We talk about it all the time. I wish they would get rid of kickers from all fantasy sports. There's literally no way for us to, besides the over-under and maybe some crazy weather that would cause the game to be lower scoring, there's just no way for us to project them. And their median projections are always so high, so they're always over-owned. I'm going to fade them. And maybe I'll embrace a little Jake Elliott, or even actually maybe I'll embrace some Dustin Hopkins. I just don't love them. What do you think?
Yeah, again, I think we're going to have to decide in the building if we're going to have to do that, if it's necessary to get to the kickers. I think this is a slate that they're definitely viable in simply because it is such a low total. But I definitely think that you have other guys who are going to outscore them. So unless you think Jake Elliott's going to come out and kick for 17 points, which isn't fucking possible, obviously, but 18 points, then I don't think you need to get to him. If you have Logan, a captain, do you want Terry in the same lineup?
Look, I don't think it matters. I don't think you have to I don't think if you're hand building a lineup, I personally would rather get 2 of the running backs or at least one of them instead. Or, that's just me personally, but I don't have a problem. There's no reason why you should set any rules for that at all. There's no reason at all for that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's necessary. With the total being so low, you need to capture as much of the total raw points as you can. So if you think Terry McLaurin is only going to have 14 points, but is going to be the highest scoring wide receiver on the slate, right? You're probably going to have to have him regardless of the negative correlation implied between him and Logan Thomas. But again, I mean, if you're playing Alex Smith and expecting him to get there, Tyson pulled it up earlier, there's times where he's going to have 37, 38 attempts. So if that's happening again, then I think Logan Thomas is going to get there, and I think Terry McLaurin can absolutely get there. So I would limit kind of how many lineups you're doing that with, but I think it's fine to have them in there, have them both in the same lineup. And
we know with Showdown, negatively correlated plays don't always matter. I think you have to be kind of smart sometimes. But most of the times, those winning lineups are dumbass lineups. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to embrace that in large field tournaments. Double running backs, multiple wide receivers, like 2 wide receivers without a quarterback. Like, that's okay. Don't be scared to do that. The chances of them going off are not high, but you're trying to win first place in a large field tournament. You got to be different somehow, and that's one way to do it. As opposed to just fading everyone, your roster construction as a whole can be a little bit different than everyone else's. All right, so let's go to defense. What are your thoughts on defense here? I mean, we have to consider Washington football team's defense at 4,200, right? This is a team, especially with Jalen Hurts, who's running around a lot in the pocket, can get you 4 or 5 sacks in this particular game. Can they get you there with an interception for a touchdown, with a fumble, with a safety? Because that's what you're going to need at 4,200. There are some other great options in this game at that price tag. What are you going to need out of Washington football team's defense? Even if they give up a touchdown, they're still not going to get you in the optimal. They need points. They need to score a touchdown.
Well, so the first thing I want to call out is it looks like both of these teams are projected to have some captain ownership. So just if you're thinking about doing that, unless you think one of these teams is scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns, do not fucking waste your money. You're just burning the lineup. As far as putting them into the flex, I think they're viable. I think both defenses are viable, to be honest with you. Washington, I mean, they're obviously going to come out with a couple sacks. Looks like they're getting 4 sacks pretty consistent.
Yeah, a lot of 4, a lot of 6 sack games. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I definitely think that they're in play. I don't know how to get much more into it other than that. Right. I'm concerned that Jalen Hurts could also have 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that could impact that, whether or not you want them in there. But with this total, I definitely think they're viable. I think I'll be even with the field at the most. The Eagles, again, they are known for their defensive line play as well. So I think that they have an opportunity to get a couple of sacks here. And Alex Smith and the Washington offense isn't known for being a fucking threat. So I definitely think you can get them in there. I'm not looking to prioritize either of them, though, just because I think there's enough salary to do what you want here.
Look, both of these teams are hovering around 20% ownership for the defenses. So you're talking 20%, you're talking 40% ownership combined, and then you're talking another 40% ownership combined for the kickers. That's just too much for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I know there's an obvious situation where one of the kickers goes off and scores you 15 fantasy points, but how do you, like, I just don't think it's going to I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to that. I'd rather just say, fuck it. I'm going to throw all these guys in the wastebasket, and I'm going to uncheck them, or at least limit them to 10%, half the field, and then focus on getting, the wide receivers or the running backs with all that value, and not worry about getting this middle ranged value at 3 to 4K. That's a lot of ownership coming in on kickers and defense. I get it. It's a lower score, a lower total. I just don't like doing that. I don't know. What do you think about that? Am I too crazy?
No.
Is it just personal vendetta against fucking defenses and kickers? Because if it is, I'll accept it. But do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm just not feeling that great about them. Again, if you want some exposure in 20 or 150, I think going even with the field or slightly under is fine. But I think there's plenty of opportunities to have higher scorers on this slate.
All right, Ellie, let's move into our fade of the night. Ready?
Let's do it.
What's your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony!
Ellie, talk to me. Fade of the night, Eagles wide receivers.
Yeah, bro. Like, honestly, I don't even know where to really begin attacking there, and I'm not going to have enough lineups to really rotate my entire core or rotate my core with every single wide receiver or pass catcher on this team. I think I'm only going to have 2 players from Philly anyways, and that's for sure going to be Boston Scott and probably Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, fade their ass. I'm right there with you, man. What the fuck am I supposed to do? And they're all at awkward pricing, too. If one of them was under, if you had like Greg Ward at like 4,400, it'd be a little bit different, and I'd be able to put him in a little bit more. But I just don't like where they're priced with their potential output, especially considering Boston Scott needs 3 receptions for 2.5 yards to pay off his price tag.
Yeah. Boston Scott all day. Because look, I don't think I'm not going to play more than 3 Eagles in any particular lineup. I think I'm setting hard rules to max at 3 Eagles, simply because I just don't think that they can get there. But I think there's going to be some points scored, and I need to find those 3 players that score those points. But I don't want to get any 4-2s Eagles at all. So I hear you. Somebody's just going to get the fade on Eagles, and it's most likely going to be the wide receivers. For me, Alex Smith, like I said, I just don't see him getting there. I want him to get there. I'm a big fan. I want them to win this game. I just don't see him getting there fantasy points wise. It's just, I'm looking at his previous performances. I don't think you need him. And automatically you're going to be different if you have one of these quarterbacks not in your lineup. We've seen it so many times that, the quarterbacks most likely are going to be in the optimal lineups, whether they're both in the flex or one of them is in the captain. Most likely. That's why everyone's playing them. That's why they're both over 50% owned. But we've seen many times. We played every single showdown slate this entire season. Ellie, we know, like, fading one quarterback in your lineups is the easiest way to get different. And a lot of times you can get the biggest leverage. So me, Alex Smith, he doesn't have a high ceiling. He's a game manager. He's out there. He's going to hand the ball off. He's going to throw the ball, check the ball down. If he's checking the ball down to McKissick, McLaurin, Sims, the Sims brothers, they're getting more points than he is on those checkdowns. So I'm more willing to embrace the other side of it. All right. Denny Green, hit us with our captain choice here. Actually, hang on. Let me change this guy. Sorry. There we go. All right. Denny Green.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
There he is. Logan Thomas, former Arizona Cardinals quarterback.
You even got a fucking Cardinals jersey.
I somehow found it. I had to go deep. Tell me about it, dude.
He's going to get 466 targets and probably 324 receptions. That's it. That's all I have to say.
J.D. McKissick is a number 3 wide receiver on this team. Dinks and dumps, getting tons of targets, over 100 targets this year, him and Kamara. I don't see that changing this game. Antonio Gibson's a little bit beat up. Alex Smith is a little bit beat up. I expect McKissick and Thomas to be my core in almost every lineup. I'll sprinkle in Antonio Gibson quite a bit along with him. I just don't see how J.D. McKissick does not make the optimal with the amount of targets he's getting. And, if dude has 7-8 receptions and if he can score a touchdown, having him at the captain, you're going to be unique because I think he's going to be under 5% owned in the captain.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you going to get some McKissick in captain?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I kind of want to see if we get any updated news on what's happening with Gibson. I think I prioritize him and Gibson in the flex position, to be honest. I just like Logan Thomas too much. I don't know how much I'm going to deviate off of that plan.
All right, so we're going to jump into a lineup build. Chat, hit us up, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, fucking MySpace, wherever you're at. Hit us up in the chat. Let us know who you want to build a captain build with. We're going to show you a hand build, which I love doing with NFL because you really get to feel out these lineups. And then we'll jump into Fantasy Cruncher and show you some of the top projected lineups and see what the roster construction is based off of just the right out of the box projections and ownership. So let's start off with your pick there, Logan Thomas, dude.
All right.
Oh yeah, let me share your screen. There we go.
Logan Thomas, we got 76-60 remaining. We obviously want Jalen Hurts. Oh, god damn it.
Whoops.
Okay, Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to do this right now. Boston Scott.
And this is a good Paradise. This is a good thing to bring up because I think there's going to be a lot of Washington defense captain. And we'll build one with that. I'm excited to fade them at captain because I think there's going to be a lot of that today. A lot of wasted lineups, in my opinion. But we'll get to that for sure. So what do you got there, bro? I can't see that.
There we go.
So Boston Scott, yeah, dude. Gibson, McKissick, Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts paired. Dude, I love that. We're fading Alex Smith. We're capturing all the rushing. We're capturing all the rushing for Washington. A lot of these dink and dump receptions, and then Boston Scott with Greg Ward. That's a great lineup.
Yeah, and then I think this is fine. I mean, this was a really easy build too.
Oh, super easy.
Yeah, so
this is why we do these hand builds like this because it's just we can feel out how easy it's going to be, and when we move into our optimizer, we can say, look, just give me 500 crunches with Logan Thomas, and I'll figure out the best ones. But hand building them, you can immediately tell which ones are going to be the best builds.
I mean, look, you can literally just do whatever the hell you want. How much is Hurts?
50. 46. Dude, that's insane. Is he really 46? I know we talked about it, but man, 4,600. That's crazy.
Yeah, he actually becomes a fairly interesting captain spot. At that price.
Absolutely.
I don't expect him to get there, but I mean, it's not worth one. That look. So I think the thing that we need to pay attention to is how much we're leaving on the table. I don't think that's an issue today. So I'm gonna flip to this real quick. So if we're looking at ownership,
Can you zoom in on that?
yeah. So,
Oh, nice. Dude, look at you. And by the way, if you guys aren't using Excel at all for anything, you should start because it really helps. It really does.
I mean, okay. So look, Jalen Hurts looks like he's going to be the chalkiest. You mind building with him first, real quick? I want to see what we get by having him.
Yeah, let's do Jalen Hurts.
Okay. So Jalen Hurts is a captain. He's the chalkiest. It looks like Alex Smith is next. Antonio Gibson. All right, so let's start with that and see what we kind of project the optimal to be that everyone's gonna that most people are gonna have, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, I feel like Ertz probably is gonna be one of the next ones. No, I guess not. So what do you have to do?
Bro, just do this. Put Hurts in the captain and hit optimize.
Yeah,
you might have to adjust. You might have to just like manually adjust the exposure on these guys. They won't. Yeah. So just go into the minimum and hit 0 for Boston Scott. His minimum exposure, just hit 0, and that'll count as an adjustment. So Jordan Howard.
That's pretty close to what we have there.
Scott, McLaurin, Gibson.
Oh shit! Hold on.
Oh shit!
No, that was my fault.
No, you're good.
It's got a right down here. It has the StreamYard thing. So if I accidentally move anything, I accidentally stop
If you
sharing.
click hide on that, that's what I have to do. Yeah, Okay. So this is kind of like this is the opto with Jalen Hurts at captain, right? So that kind of gets you an idea. Interestingly enough, Jordan Howard is making the opto. I don't love that. But both quarterbacks, McLaurin, Gibson, Boston Scott. Okay, now let's build our own here. And that's $1,700 left on the table. So we obviously know that people are just gonna do this kind of shit. They're gonna just optimize and see what happens from there. So 1,700 on the table is viable. We might have to even go above that if we're going chalk in the captain.
I mean, I think so. If we're doing Jalen Hurts at captain, I think this is a great opportunity to run Gibson and McKissick.
Yeah,
and
let's do it because no one's doing that shit. I know no one's doing that shit.
We still want Boston Scott.
Yeah, we got to go Boston Scott. I don't have a problem getting Boston Scott in a lot of lineups. I think there's a path that he fails, but at that salary, the path is very slim.
Logan Thomas.
Yeah, go Logan. Do our core. Do our core in every one.
McKissick, Logan Thomas, Gibson.
It's 5,900. This is a Zach Ertz situation. Yeah. And that's a great single entry lineup too.
Yeah. Do you mind actually holding on? I do have a single entry I need to build.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Here, I'll just. Luckily, we're gonna end this stream with enough time for us to build. But yeah, that's a good lineup there.
The problem is once I start building my 20 max, I get so lost in it that I can't remember which lineup I liked for these. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So look, let's build. Now that we kind of know where the chalk is going, let's build with McKissick
at captain.
Yeah, captain. I really want to try some of these dart throws and see if they're even necessary. Like a guy like Corey Clement at $200, and just see how much getting a guy at $200 actually will help us, if it's even worth it. Because there's so much salary available, there's so much value, So fade Boston Scott here. Go with Corey Clement. Get both quarterbacks to start, and then maybe we can rotate Alex Smith out.
I think we take Terry McLaurin over
Gibson. Yeah.
In this particular one.
With McKissick at captain, I don't have a problem with that for sure.
I mean, you got Zach. Can you? Yeah,
that's amazing. You can get Fulgham. I mean, you can get anybody. So look, you could lock in all 4 of these guys or 5 of these guys even, and then just rotate out that last position, or lock in 4 and rotate out the last 2 positions in the optimizer or hand build, whatever you want to do. But I think this is also a pretty good single entry with McKissick at captain.
So another interesting one here is if you go down to Gibson, you can come up to Ward or even Rieger.
Yeah.
I don't like Rieger, but, Ward isn't a bad play in this lineup too. So you got Jalen Hurts, Greg Ward, Corey Clement. Again,
go switch out. So empty everything out except McKissick, and go with Boston Scott, and see how big of a difference that build is. I think they're going to be similar. I think you could still afford the same guys, right? McLaurin, can you get McLaurin and then Ertz again?
Not quite.
Oh, almost. So that's interesting. This is why we tried this. Is in order to get this build, you got to go down to Clement. You can go Washington foosball team.
I mean, if you're going to do this, you're probably going to want to run it this way.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to want to go Antonio Gibson, McKissick, and football team. That's nice. Hurts and Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go.
Oh, go ahead, dude. What were you going to say?
No. I was just seeing what we could do down here. I mean, look, if you want, you have the football team, Eagles defense, Hopkins, Jake Elliott. Take
out Alex Smith for this lineup.
Okay.
So what does that give us? So let's get our boy. Let's get our. I'm cool with going double tight ends here. I'm cool with going both tight ends. So Logan Thomas and Ertz, if we can afford them, and I think we can.
Yeah, we still have a shitload of money.
So there's so many options here. This is why tonight, getting as many entries as you can in I think is important, because there's just so many options, and there's great options at captain with under 5% ownership. It doesn't happen a lot. If you pulled McLaurin out there, and you put you can put Antonio Gibson in. How much is left on the table there? Like a shitload, right?
Yeah, 26.
No one's building this lineup. The upside is there. You have a incredibly high ceiling, and with 2,600 left on the table on both running backs with both tight ends, that no one's building that lineup. I'm gonna take a photo of that real quick. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's go to let's try this Washington defense. Hit us up in the chat, guys. We got a handful of viewers here. We appreciate you guys' support. Throw us a like real quick. Really helps us out. Let us know in the chat who you guys want to see at captain here.
All right. So Washington captain, the first thing we need to do is get these guys in.
Dude, it's possible that Washington football team will be higher owned in captain than Zach Ertz, Boston Scott, Greg Ward, like those kind of guys.
That's insane.
So just think about that. Like the path for them to them be the optimal captain is so fucking slim. You got to have multiple touchdowns out of them. I just don't see it happening.
All right, I'm gonna do something
Why?
while we're doing this in the background. Oh, never mind. I got them all locked. So once I unlock this, I do want to run a couple crunches, see what I end up with. What did you have with your optimal captain? It was close to 110, right?
Yes, let me pull that up. Where the hell is that? And these are different projections, but 101 was the median, was Alex Smith's median projection. That was the top lineup that I was getting earlier when I crunched.
Okay, let's see what we get when we just optimize with Alex Smith at captain.
Ed Davis will start ahead of Nas Reed, just in case. I don't know if you care, if anybody cares, if anybody's playing NBA.
So the optimal with Alex Smith on RG is 94.
So, it's apples to oranges because the projections are different, but they mean the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
So just crunch out. So here, you know what? While you're doing that, I'm going to crunch out with Washington football team and the captain on my end. I'll crunch out 250 and see what happens here.
Okay. So we got the one with Washington defense as captain. I kind of want to see what happens with Zach Ertz.
Yeah, do Zach Ertz because I think he's got super high upside.
Yeah, for sure. Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to do a Boston Scott fade.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me do this. What does that leave us with? 3,100. Puts down to Steven Sims, so that might be a little bit too expensive. I can fade Alex Smith in this one. Oh shit!
Here, let me share my screen. Let me show you Fantasy Crunchers getting us here. Let me zoom in actually on this a little bit so you guys can see. Come on, bro. All right, so Washington football team. 94.36 is the top projected. And if we look at our Captain Crunch slide, it looks like that is hovering right by Terry McLaurin as one of the lowest top projected captain lineups. I just don't love it. I'm just not loving that.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of lineups, you're getting 4-2s, Zach Ertz, Hurts. I mean, these are good lineups. Don't get me wrong. And look, they got our double running back situation there. If you wanted to switch out Alex Smith with Logan Thomas, or if you wanted to run a Boston Scott lineup, you can do that too. But me personally, I'm not loving that. Let's look at no. What's that look for?
Laviska Shenault has 2 touchdowns.
Oh shit!
And the Jags look like they're keeping the game close.
Really? Shenault, huh? Okay. So, all right, who should we build with now? Are there any lineups you want to look at in Fantasy Cruncher before we get out of here?
No, man. I mean, I pretty much have what I need. Is there anybody else in the chat who wants us to build with anybody in particular?
Let me look at McKissick and the captain and see what we got here. Where is he? Where's McKissick? Fantasy Cruncher's slow as hell sometimes, man. Okay. So top projected for McKissick. Let me switch over here. So Boston Scott, Ertz, Jalen Hurts, and then Antonio Gibson and Alex Smith. Let me look at ceiling. Let me sort by ceiling. See what that lineup comes out as. Same one. So to me, if I'm getting top projected and top ceiling with the same lineup, I'm entering that lineup every time. McKissick, Boston Scott, Ertz, Jalen Hurts, Antonio Gibson, Alex Smith. That might be one of my favorite lineups. I might enter that into a large field. for sure. Actually, I might fade Alex Smith and go with McLaurin or something like that. So, Ellie, what are your final thoughts here on this matchup? What do you think the final score is going to be here?
I think the final score is going to be some weird shit like 22-13 Washington.
I'm going to take the over. I think I'm going to go like 28-21. It's going to be a relatively close game, but I think Washington can pull it out. I think there is a chance that Philly can upset them in this game, and the Giants can make the Super Bowl. That ain't happening. The Giants can make the playoffs. So keep an eye on that. I hope not, because I want Alex Smith to make the playoffs. I want him to have at least maybe even have a shot at winning a playoff game. I just don't see it happening. But anyways, all right. Thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate everything. Thanks for joining us. Throw us a like on our way out. We really appreciate it. We're going to we'll talk about doing an NBA showdown tonight. I don't know if we'll have time, but for sure this week we're going to be doing an NBA showdown throughout the week. Right, Ellie? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Good luck.